Good evening, old chaps. I am your host, Aaron Kramers, with my other host.
Thomas Jonathan Price McClellan.
And tonight's film we're going to be talking about is High Rise, directed by Ben Wheatley.
Is it the actor who played Q from the 007 films?
No, that's Ben Winshaw.
Can't blame a chair for not trying to find out.
Yes, Ben Wheatley is best known for his more bleak and violent films, such as Kill List, Sightseers, and Free Fire.
So you would admit that this film kind of fits his bill, as it's sort of said?
I do believe so.
Yes. It seems to be a whole aspect of a violent dystopia that would fit into his elements right away, I would imagine.
Aye.
Yes.
What this movie is about is basically a slice of life thing where the residents of a high-rise apartment descending into madness.
Yes, that's it's rather threatening. It's sort of the clash between the upper, middle, and even the lower classes also in the apartment, right?
Uh-huh.
Very. But more or less, we have to talk about the amazing cast they acquired for this film.
Tom Hiddleston, Luke Evans, Jeremy Irons, Elizabeth Moss, and Sienna Miller.
Exactly, a group of really talented individuals that really do sell the film in a very unique kind of way.
Aye.
Very. But more or less, let's talk about what each character brings to their role.
Tom Hiddleston is a more in-between.
He seems to be a character that seems to be hiding a lot about his personal views on sort of things. But it only comes near the end where he has to let that all out, that you see who he really is on the inside, pretty much. More or less, let's also talk about Luke Evans, who gave us a very serious and surprising dumb role here.
Yes, playing a sort of like a rebellious bloke who all of a sudden turns into a more violent and malicious animal.
So basically Michael Moore, if he lost all his sense of control.
Aye.
That's my way of interpreting it, at least. And let's not forget about Jeremy Irons himself right here.
Playing the creator of the high-rise apartments, Iron Royal.
Even the name really gives it away, don't you think?
Aye.
But when you think about it, as an actor from the Shakespearean Royal Company, Jeremy Irons is willing to essentially make his character both evil yet sympathetic, which is what he really excels at.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets laid in it, so you must really feel good for something about him.
Aye.
What do you suppose the setting is, though, for this?
I do believe that the film takes place in the 70s, around the same time as the book that the movie was based on
Yes.
was made.
Who was the writer for the book that this was based on?
J.G. Ballard.
Somehow I could almost tell from all the orgies in the movie, really. What is it with that man in orgies, you must wonder.
I don't know, but I know that Empire of a Sun didn't feature any orgies.
To be fair, that had children in it, so that would be
Fair
a bit
enough.
weird. But more or less, the film's tone is something I found rather fascinating, actually.
What is fascinating, my dear friend?
It almost seems to have this sort of way with madness, as it were. Almost everywhere you look, it seems like it just gets farther and farther into madness, to the point where you almost have no idea what is happening at the exact same time, almost.
It's my paint.
Exactly. I never want to fight Loki over a pan of paint ever again. That is what I have to say about that. But more importantly, it seems to have a sort of a message about the whole economic structure of Britain during the 70s at this time.
Yes, there was even a sound clip of Margaret Thatcher talking about capitalism.
Well, it was around this time Britain was having financial strafes at the moment, and Thatcher got the brunt of it, most of it, as she was blamed for the housing development and the garbage literally everywhere. I'm not even joking on that one. But more importantly, it was also about the ideal that basically capitalism would help prevail when it contrasted with violence and destruction and chaos happening everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got that political aspect to it, which drags the film from something higher than, say, a Michael Bay production.
Aye.
Oh, naturally. In all seriousness, let's talk about what makes the film really excel, in my opinion, the directing in the film.
Ben Wheatley's directing.
It seems to have this very unique way of showing the camera, as in a way that it almost feels like you yourself are going mad in this situation almost.
Aye.
Kind of the way that it moves. It starts out simple enough, but as the movie gets more and more insane, the camera itself seems to be defying convention itself and going in any direction it wants. It's almost just trying to break free from the constraints of the apartment. But more importantly, it seems to almost have a very great cinematography and score to go along with it, you would say.
Aye, I would say so myself, with a score by Clint Mansell, best known for his scores with Darren Aronofsky films and his work on Moon and Mute.
It's weird that you mentioned Darren Aronofsky, because watching the entire film, I almost got the whole idea that I was watching a mix-up between Terry Gilliam and a Darren Aronofsky sort of film.
Aye.
It almost seems like it seems to relish in the insanity of the moment, to the point where the audience is left stunned in the face of this adversity sort of thing. And we also have the music. Now, since this is set in the 70s, they pick a lot of music that reflect that time period, but a lot of them are remixes or overdubs of other music done by other artists.
May I hear an example?
Well, one of my favorite examples is the song SOS by ABBA, actually. It's very faint and it's sort of near the end, but if you listen really closely, you can hear it being sung by a different artist in a different form. Now, that's also what I like about that, because it takes the situation, a save our souls, basically, but it makes it a little more darker. Almost like watching a film directed with Stellan Skarsgård in it, like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or something like that. Where it uses a song that's happy and makes it disturbing.
Yes, and what would you say that the weakest part of the film is?
It's hard to say, because the one real problem I did seem to have with the film was the fact that for most of the time I was left almost completely unaware of what was happening. I think you have to understand a lot about the book or maybe the events happening to really get a full grasp of it, but when I did understand what was going on, I actually understood. But for the most part, I was sort of guessing what was going to happen, which can be a good thing, but for the most part, it just left me confused most of the time. What about you?
I would say it would the movie drags on a little bit too long, in my opinion.
Yes, that is the problem with the dragging, you may say. But other than that, let's also talk about what you particularly liked about the film. What was that?
What I liked is the themes it showed, and the cinematography and music.
Well, the themes are very interesting, because it's this sort of battle between the classes sort of thing.
Yes.
And the battleground just happens to be an apartment building. The higher up you are, the more of a, the richer you are.
The self-important.
Very self-important. Like what they showed in the Titanic, almost.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, what would you have to say about the film overall?
Overall, this is a polarizing film. You don't know whether you should like it or hate it, but shouldn't all art be polarizing?
Yes, it wouldn't be much about art if it wasn't, really.
Which is why I would be giving High Rise my rating of a 7.5 out of 10.
Fascinating. I will admit that the film was a bit confusing for me at first, but I feel as though watching it, I seem to get a greater grasp of the situation, and the performances and the direction really do sell the film for me. So I will have to give this film a 7 out of 10. Oh yes, very good. What should we do now?
Well, we should let the audience know that if they liked our show, our video, they can hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and the bell for notifications, and to follow us on social medias.
Yes, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yes, and maybe if you want to help with the funds for our show, they can
Support us on Patreon, as it were.
Patreon, and in return they can get some treats like quests and other stuff.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, I suppose we should say goodbye to the people at
Yes.
home.
I bid you all a farewell, ladies and gentlemen.
Cheerio! We apologise for the British people we've insulted with these accents now.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, we'll try to do better in the future.